excitement for that. I'm Deputy Mayor for Operations, Mira Zoshi. I have the privilege and the awesome responsibility of overseeing the maintenance and the evolution of our city's foundational infrastructure. That's the bones of how our city works. It's our core. But the city also has an ever-present and not so pleasant external skeleton that when used right protects the core and people on our streets, and when not, sadly, this happens too frequently, hides the shining glory of our vibrant city streets. That bothers many people, but one person far more than anyone else, one who is driven to every day ensure all that it is beautiful about New York City is actually seen by all New Yorkers and not hidden by steel poles and green wood. And that's our mayor, Eric Adams.
Thank you so much, and really want to thank our lawmakers, some real partnership and executive, Councilman Powell and Borough President Levine and Borough President Brewer. We have been talking about these darn sheds for some time, and just being able to do something about it. And I remember Borough President a few years ago standing with the former mayor in NYCHA as we talked about taking down these sheds. And these sheds just appear to say they are as resilient as the rats in New York, you know. But just as we have a rat czar, we are going to deal with this issue of sheds, and having Jimmy Otto over at the Department of Building, Commissioner Otto is just one of those guys. Once he gets his teeth into something, he does not let go until it's done. So we're excited about making this happen. And it may be lost on many of you, but it's not lost on me. That's a sharp suit, man.
That's a high compliment coming from you.
And so, Deputy Mayor, you just have so many good things under your portfolio, and you just continue to amaze us as you get it done over and over again. So we want to thank Deputy Mayor Joshi. And, you know, we say over and over again, New York City is not coming back, New York City is back. And we must show the visual beauty of this city, and it should not be in the skeleton body of these sheds all over our city. And they should not be a way of preventing us from moving forward. The sky is the limit, and we must see the sky, and our sheds are in a way of doing that. So today, we're announcing our plan to take down unsightly sidewalk sheds and reclaim our streets. Thank you. This guy's giving me a New York wave, you know. Sidewalks, sheds, also known as scaffolding, are the ugly green boxes that align our sidewalks. They block the sunlight, keep pedestrians away from businesses, and are a magnet for illegal activity. They even block our dear friends. Let me see this poster. Remember when you guys were trying to get a good shot of Trump and you couldn't get it? And so we want to prevent that. Those sheds were all over the place. And we want the press to get the shot that they need when they need it. New Yorkers have gotten so used to sidewalk sheds that it's easy to forget our city's beautiful architecture. And we want to make sure that it is not in the way. Last week, there was a sidewalk shed covering this building behind me. It's hard to believe. Look how short the sidewalk space is. A shed was here, and you can see what it looks like in these photos. Today is gone. Look at the difference. There's more light, more room for pedestrians, better access to businesses. So many businesses are impacted by having the sheds up in front of them. While sidewalk sheds were created to protect New Yorkers, they now have become unsafe constructions, and it is, as we stated, a safe haven for criminal behavior. The appearance has gotten out of control. We hear it over and over again, and we must regain control of our city streets. But, you know, if we're honest about it, when we did an analysis, we realized that city rules are incentivizing property owners to leave sheds up and put off critical work. Most sheds stay up for longer than a year, and some have darkened our streets for more than a decade. We have normalized the sheds all over our city, and that is unacceptable. And all too often, they stay up, but no repair is happening. We use the sheds as a form of pushing the repairs off years after years after years, and property owners are not required to pay a penny in fines. As a result, we have nearly 400 miles of sheds across our city, taking up public spaces that belongs to New Yorkers. Imagine visiting Rome or Tokyo or any other attractive city, and you cannot take the photographs you want because sheds are everywhere. This should not be part of our infrastructure in our city. It's unacceptable. And a real indicator of how it has gotten out of control, I think John Wilson from HBO showed us in his Just About Every Culture has made scaffolding its own with seasonal decorations and signs. This is not going to become the legacy of our city. We're going to make sure the design, the beauty, and the architect is reflected in what we are doing. That's why GSD today is going to be the acronym for Get Sheds Down. We're going to change the paradigm so that property owners complete repairs and get sheds down. We're going to help expedite the repairs of our building fronts. We're going to remove expired sheds, and we are going to tap into the talent of our city design to have other options while doubling down on alternatives we have, like using netting. We're also going to increase oversight and enforcement, because if you take public space that belongs to New Yorkers, you should have to pay for it. We're going to focus on business districts where property owners have the resources to repair for the work. And let's be clear, we're not going to burden our small property owners who are still recovering from the pandemic. And public safety will always be our number one priority. The city is going to lead the way with our own projects. Look at the Supreme Court building in Queens County. We're going to run a pilot and using netting. That shed has been up for 6 years. So don't let anyone make you believe we must make the forced choice between safety and scenery. We could have them both. This plan will flip the script so that property owners are incentivized to complete safety work and remove sheds. Last year, the governor and I, in the new New York report, we highlighted the importance of public space in our city's recovery, and addressing sidewalk sheds was paramount to getting it right. Today, we say again, promise made, promises kept, and with the partnership of our borough president and our council members, we're able to execute on this problem and get it resolved. This is how we reimagine our city and revitalize our business district. This is how we get people to spend money in New York City and make sure the beauty of our city shines through. Something that our Chief Public Realm Officer, Yating Liu, and Commissioner Jimmy Otto and Deputy Mayor Josie knows all too well. And I want to thank them for leading the way. And again, I want to thank our partners, both Borough President Levine and forever Borough President Gail Brewer and Councilman Powell. This is such an important initiative. It is part of the symbolic and substantive things that we must do to make sure this city not only come back financially and economically, but it come back visually as well. Great city, beautiful city. We need to see it in a very clear way, and sheds must be removed and not part of our history. Deputy Mayor, thank you.
Thank you very much, Mayor. I'm going to just briefly go through some of the details of how we're getting sheds down and putting better sheds up. For years, our sidewalk shed policy made it easy for property owners to leave their sheds up forever, push off repairs indefinitely, and ignore the impacts of inaction. They've stolen our public space because it made more financial sense to leave the sheds up than to fix the facades. Those days are over. We're going to shine a light on those bad actors so light can shine on our city streets. Here's the plan. Once a sidewalk shed goes up, the clock starts ticking. At 90 days, the first penalties are issued, so you have to act. And every month thereafter, until repairs are complete, we'll issue another penalty, the maximum accrual of $6,000 per month. The length of a shed will be cut from, the permit length for putting up a shed will be cut from 1 year to 90 days to match our enforcement cycle, and every quarter buildings will have to check in with DOB to share their progress. We're increasing the pool of long-term sheds that are subject to more focused enforcement from about 500, that's sheds that have been up for 5 or more years, to another 500, so that's about 1,000 sheds. Those are all the sheds that have been up for about 3 years or more. This will no longer be just the cost of doing business. We're increasing the fines for out-of-compliance sheds in our central business districts throughout the city, because these are our commercial centers. Local businesses suffer when shrouded in darkness. If buildings in these pedestrian hotspots don't meet responsible deadlines, filing a repair application in 3 months, getting work permits in 6 months, or finishing their repairs in 2 years, there will be additional monetary penalties. And let me be clear. Our goal here isn't just to collect fines or sue people. It's actually to get the sheds down and get the critical repair work done that protects all pedestrians throughout New York. And that's why we're waiving penalties if building owners show us that the repair work is underway and will be complete in a reasonable timetable. We're also looking into creating a low-interest loan program to provide financial support for small property owners. And because safety comes first, when buildings have unsafe facades, we're reimagining pedestrian protection without blight that the old sheds created. What we'll do is promote the use of netting in place of sidewalk sheds wherever possible. And like the mayor said, we're leading from the front. Netting will be the city's first choice moving forward. We'll only use traditional sidewalk sheds if we can't use netting. We're going to require lights, thanks for our partnership with council members, on existing sheddings, and we'll allow art panels and a more choice of colors. But that's for existing sheddings. What we need to do is reimagine the way scaffolding looks across our city. So we're kicking off a process to permanently redesign scaffolding in New York City. New York City is where the creative and artistic minds congregate, as well as our sharpest and most innovative engineers. Between these two groups, we'll select at least 3 redesigned affordable scaffolding proposals, and working with City Council, get them codified into law. This way, businesses have a choice, but the choice is limited to aesthetically pleasing, practical, and sound design. We get beauty, functionality, affordability, and uniformity. It's time for scaffolding to evolve. We're doing all of this because New York's most valuable asset is its space. It's where we work, where we play, where we eat, where we move, and where we are. So I want to introduce our other speakers and take a quick moment before that to thank the numerous people that made this possible. As the John Wilson skit points out, there's numerous people in the scaffolding hierarchy, so there's numerous people in the Get Sheds Down hierarchy as well. Our Manhattan Borough President Mark Levine, City Council Member Keith Powers, City Council Member former Manhattan Borough President Gail Brewer, New York State Assembly Member Tony Simone, James Methan, President of Flatiron Nomad Partnership, Isabella Conway, Marketing Director Hudson Yards, Hell's Kitchen Alliance, Tammy Meltzer, Chair, Manhattan Community Board 1, Susan Kent, Chair, Community Board 2, Mark Diller, District Manager, Community Board 2, Susan Stetzer, District Manager, Community Board 3, Jesse Bodine, District Manager, Manhattan Community Board 4, Jesus Perez, District Manager, Manhattan Community Board 6, and Jackson Shabbat, Director of Advocacy and Organizing Open Plans. It's a long list, but that's where the work is really done. So thank you to all of those members of our advocacy group. And now I'd like to introduce James Metham, President of the Flatiron Nomad Partnership.
Good to see you again. Good morning, everyone. I'll be very brief. Thank you all for joining us this morning in Chelsea. I'm a little bit outside my own boundary. I'm in Flatiron and Nomad, a couple blocks away, but fortunately, if you know a Field of Dreams reference, I didn't turn into Moonlight Graham. I know Commissioner Otto's a big baseball fan. That was for you. But anyway, thank you so much. This is really an important day for the aesthetics of our city as well as for the safety of our city. At any given moment in the Flatiron and Nomad district, just around the corner, over 25% of our sidewalks are covered by scaffolding and sidewalk sheds. We've been surveying that for a number of years. And look, we can do this, as the mayor said. We can make sure that the structural integrity of our buildings are secure while providing a safe and traversable network of sidewalks and plazas and streets for our entire community. That's our New Yorkers that live here, our businesses that do their commerce, our visitors, our students, and so on. So I just want to say, this is a terrific step forward. We can do better. And again, thank the new New York panel that the mayor and the governor put together for really thinking about how this city can be a better place for our residents and our visitors and our businesses going forward. So thank you so much, and enjoy the day here in Chelsea, and stop over in Flatiron and Nomad shortly afterwards. Take care.
Thank you. And now we'll hear from Borough President Levine.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you, Deputy Mayor. Thank you for leading on everything public space for our city. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I think history will show you're the first mayor to put scaffolding in your State of the City speech. I'm going to go with that. I know how much you care about this. These are huge policies that we're announcing today. You kind of scared me when you said, get sheds down. I thought you were going to drop the SH bomb. Proof of your commitment there. You got an amazing human being as your chair of your commissioner of buildings. Jimmy Otto is just one of the best people in government. Also one of the best dressed. That is true. And we just have amazing leadership in the city council on scaffolding. Majority Leader Powers has been phenomenal on this legislation. And of course, shout out to my wonderful professor and predecessor, Gail Brewer. Thanks to all of you. So this press conference was scheduled because there was scaffolding up here, I think for years. Someone will tell me how long it was up. They tore it down when they heard the mayor was coming to town. So I think we may have hit on the ultimate policy solution, Mr. Mayor. We're going to schedule press conferences at all 9,000 locations in New York City. It shouldn't come to that. You know, we all support protecting pedestrians when there's a dangerous facade. Like that's not up for debate. But the time it takes to actually fix the facade, the time you need workers up there doing that, it's like a few days, maybe a few weeks, and in extreme cases, a few months. But the average time that the sheds are up is 497 days. And as the deputy mayor said, 1,000 sheds have been up more than 3 years, 500 more than 5 years, and I think the number at more than 10 years is more than 200. So what's going on here? If it only takes a few days, a few weeks to do the work, why are the sheds up? Well, sometimes it's because you got building owners who have done the math and they've realized that they can spend a little bit of money to rent the shed or pay $1 million or more for the repairs, and they're just opting to take the cheap way out. And that's unacceptable because it has a negative impact on communities. It is bad for public safety. It harms the businesses underneath the sheds. It's bad for quality of life. It's ugly. And I truly applaud the set of announcements today that the mayor and his team are making to put real fines in place so that people who are trying to save a few bucks by leaving scaffolds up will now realize they're going to lose money on that proposition. And then there's cases where buildings are in financial distress and they don't have the funds. And we've been talking to the buildings commissioner and other members of the administration about that problem by getting them low-interest loans. There are people who are trying to do the right thing, and there's delays in getting the approval process. Again, I know the buildings commissioner and his team are really thinking through streamlining approvals. These are all topics that we've been working on with our partners in the council. We got a great plan, Shed the Sheds. Go check it out. This today is a huge step forward towards those goals. We got 9,000 8,000, almost 9,000 citywide, more in Manhattan than anywhere else. This is one thing I don't want Manhattan to be in the lead on. So let's do this. Let's get sheds down, and let's make this a more beautiful, healthy city. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you. Next, we'll hear from our council member Powers.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Mayor, for gathering us here today. I think this scaffolding I heard was over 600 days that it was up. And I'll tell you, the people that are happiest that it's down is that small business and this building and that small business, because the one thing we haven't discussed yet is the impact it has on our street life. We talked about the public safety issues, of course, but for the small businesses, for the residents there who are dealt this hand of having to live under scaffolding for sometimes years, it means less pedestrians and less people walking into that business. It's a way to boost and encourage people to shop in our great small businesses here in this neighborhood and everywhere else. So it's a great day for them as well. As the borough president said, this is a quintessential New York City issue. You don't go anywhere else. You don't go to Chicago or Boston or Los Angeles and see scaffolding like you do here. But this is not the issue that New York City wants to be leading on. And I was looking at a pizza place. That's what I want to be leading on, not on scaffolding. We did a great report with the borough president's office and introduced a package of legislation, and we found that the oldest sidewalk shed that was up that we could find was installed in the year 2006. And just for context, George Bush was the president then, and the Da Vinci Code was the rage of the talk of the town at that point. It feels like we're much, much further away from that moment. And so we were happy to be here to kick off a process to talk about this very New York City issue. But I got to tell you, when I think he was the Democrat-elect of mayor, and he reminded me this not long ago, the mayor and I had this conversation about reforming scaffolding under the discussion of how you could tackle everyday New York City issues to make sure New York City was a better place and to solve these bureaucratic hurdles that people face every single day. And you could tell right then he really understood what that meant. He understood that solving problems for New Yorkers have a range of big to small, but to solve safety, to help small businesses, to make it feel like government works, this is an issue that you can do all of the above. So I'm grateful that we're here today. I'm grateful that scaffolding's down. You wouldn't have got that selfie if that scaffolding. He wouldn't have even seen you there. But it is here. It is down, and that's what we got to aspire to do. And while they're up, it is a good idea to make them nicer and make them feel more part of the aesthetic of the surrounding neighborhood. And that's what we're here today. So this is a very big step for property owners, for business owners, for New Yorkers today to give them a piece of their city back. And I'm really grateful for the mayor and his team, and very grateful for my partner here, Borough President Levine, for deciding to take on these small issues that will have a very large impact for New Yorkers. Thank you.
Thank you. I'd also like to express my deep gratitude to Commissioner Otto, because all of the steps we outlined take a lot of day-to-day work with the enforcement team, work that hasn't been done in the past, but absolutely needs to be done and will make a real impact on city streets. I'd also like to call up former Borough President, current council member Gail Brewer.
Thank you very much. I, too, want to thank the mayor and the deputy mayor and the awesome DOB commissioner. I would say two things. Number one, I know 51 West 86th Street. I've had several press conferences there. I think it's been up 20 years. I don't know how many days that is, but it's a lot of days. And it's still there. And that particular owner has several buildings with scaffolding up for a similar amount of time. I do not understand how you can't do work in that number of decades. And the second thing, of course, is just recently the administration, Mr. Mayor should be thanked, tried so hard to get an encampment moved 3 times, and they came back because scaffolding was there. When the scaffolding left, the encampment left. It was the only way to get rid of it. And so there are so many ways in which scaffolding plays a role that is not positive. And of course, I actually have a district office now. Scaffolding just went up. And I think that the businesses that are under it, of course, are going to suffer. We heard that earlier. Trash develops. Complaints go to 311. It's a revolving, constant situation that the scaffolding is absolutely the problem that is to be solved. So I'm just here to be supportive. I know that there are going to be some situations, so I'm glad that you have figured out maybe to have some low interest support. There are some churches, synagogues, low-income till buildings / HDFC / ANCPs, whatever you want to call them, that have scaffolding where that's been up for a while because they don't have the funding to do the repairs. So I assume that will be part of the issue to try to figure that out. Congratulations. Thank you for making sure that this is a top priority.
Question to you, Mr. Mayor, and then the buildings commissioner. I heard about the fines, and then you said there were incentives. But what were the incentives? Did I miss that?
You want to do that, Jimmy, or be?
Yeah, so we, there has to be some carrots and sticks, if you will. The sticks are pretty significant. Some of the incentives are, once you demonstrate a good faith effort and you're actually beginning to undertake the work, we'll have a conversation about the fines that have been issued. The other, I think, real incentive here is we are committed to work with the borough president to talk about creating this sort of running loan fund for those property owners who legitimately are having a difficult financial time, and that's the reason why the scaffolding is up. We want to treat people in different situations differently. Those who have the ability to remove the scaffolding, but for their own economic incentives do not, we're going to come at them with the stick, if you will. For those who are in a financial situation that they just can't make ends meet, we have to figure out a way of getting them those financial resources. And more generally, sort of from 20,000 feet, if you will, the incentive is, as the DM mentioned, we are committed to creating a much better product, to give property owners a choice of a more aesthetically pleasing, a product that doesn't give rise to a bunch of the quality of life issues that Councilmember Brewer just spoke about. So, and oh, by the way, we're also going to talk about incentives. We're going to take a really hard look at the inspection process, the cycle, local law 11 cycle. We drive the rest of the country, but that's not to say every 5 years for every building of every age, of every material is correct. So we're going to bring on an outside entity to help us study that, and perhaps there is some relief in the duration of the permit process, and that will go right to the heart of why so many sheds are up. And if I could say one last thing, because I may not get back to the mic. You all and the folks at home know the names of the folks up here, Eric Adams and Mira Zoshi and Mark Levine. You may not know the names of Gus Sarakis from the Buildings Department or Yigal Shamash, who are going to do the work and have been fantastic. But there's one name I want to leave you with. I think it would not be right if I didn't, and that is Grace Gold. She was the young Barnard student in 1979 who was killed when something flew off one of our buildings, which led to Local Law 10 of 1980, which led to Local Law 11. But we should remember her today.
I spoke to her mother yesterday.
This sounds like a lot of work that if building owners going to put into the Department of Buildings, are they going to get an inspector in a timely manner? I guess the question is, do you have the manpower to actually work with these building owners?
Yeah, we have some vacancies to fill in terms of inspectors, but we're going in the right direction. And directly to your point about timeliness and inspections, I worked for this deputy mayor for 16 months. I've worked for this man for 18 months, and I know him for a long time. I will be accountable to them, and the good folks that I work with on a daily basis at DOB are absolutely committed. Listen, sheds going up in and of themselves is not a bad thing. It can mean, and it should mean, that work was being done. It can mean, and it should mean, that we are avoiding a problem from turning into a tragedy. But for those sheds that are up too long for no good reason, DOB will be on this until we remove them.
So part of what you guys are talking about today involves like the aesthetics of the shed, and I mean people complain about them, what have you. There are other aspects of kind of the cityscape people complain about, like awnings, stuff like that. So I'm wondering more broadly here, is the city looking at any other regulations to aesthetics as far as buildings and what have you, aside from this?
Yes, we're always looking at how to run, how to visually show our city better, and how to be more efficient. So everything is on the table of how do we reform our city. And as we reach a point of announcement, we will do something like this. No, nothing specific at this time.
Why are fines only capped at $6,000 a month or $10,000 when you get to the larger central business districts? Is that enough to deter this, especially when, as the council member mentioned, there's been some skepticism for 2 decades? So why is that fine? Why is it capped like that?
Well, it's fine in other actions, and we're going to, as we always do, we'll look at the response. And if we're not getting the results we need, we're going to move to the next level. Our goal is to take down unneeded sheds and not allow these long period of time to take place. And we are not going to be so stagnant that if it's not getting the results we want, when we go back and do an analysis, if we have to do $10,000 a month, then it's $10,000 a month. But we're not trying to over-penalize. We want to send a strong message. It's time to take down the shed culture.
How many do you have that are related to scaffolding? But then also encampments have the number of complaints related to encampments under scaffolding increased?
Don't have the exact number, but we'll get it to you and let you know, okay?
Aside from your soliciting suggestions as to how to make the sheds prettier, aside from sort of changing the ugly green part of it, is there anything that can be done, in terms of how do you deal with the light and the blockade of businesses, et cetera? Is that even addressable, or is it just really the green part would be prettier?
Well, that's why we're looking at the netting aspect of it. We have been looking at there are new ways to actually protect pedestrians below, and we're going to put in place a competition again. They had a competition several years ago. We want to relook at that because there's some great ideas out there. How do you protect the public? How do you make sure that we deal with the aesthetics? And how do you not keep sheds up for a long period of time? We don't even want the netting up for a long period of time. The goal is fix the problem. And that's some of the things we're doing with the drones that we announced to infuse that into building inspections. It's easier to do to identify exactly where the problems are. And so this is our all hands on getting the sheds down from our city.
We have other hot topics.
All right, why don't we do a few of time? All right, thanks. Thank you, man. Good job, brother. Good stuff.